What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to tonight's show. I cannot talk. What is going on here? Hello, everyone. How are we doing? We got an update on the Major League Baseball lockout. Could the Players Association be preparing an offer rather soon? We have some Carlos Correa news. We're going to talk a little Greg Maddux tonight as well. We're going to go back in time a little bit. Could he have played for the Yankees at one point? And we have a little bit of a Hall of Fame update. Could David Ortiz be on track to getting into the Hall of Fame? Let's get to it. What is going on, baseball fans? Hello, good evening to everyone at home. Hope everyone is having a good week. And, we haven't been live here for a few days, unfortunately. There's just not really anything to talk about. I wish. I've been doing a lot of pre-recorded videos, so if you haven't seen any of those, please go check them out. But I figured there was enough to talk about tonight to have a live show, and I want to thank you all for coming by tonight. Hope everyone's doing well. Hope everyone's having a good week. What is today? Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday today, isn't it? Yeah, what's going on, everyone? How are we doing? Hope everyone is happy, healthy, well fed, all the good stuff. Hope everyone's isn't sick or whatever it is. So, but yeah, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Surprisingly, I felt like we had enough here to kind of sink our teeth into. We're going to talk some Carlos Correa. So we're going to talk about some lockout. We could be seeing the Major League Baseball Players Association be making an offer rather soon, according to reports. We're going to talk a little Greg Maddux tonight, a little Hall of Fame tonight. So, hey, grab your popcorn, grab your Dr. Pepper or Diet Dr. Pepper if you're watching your figure. But yes, let's get to it, everyone. But before I do get started, we have been getting a little bit of traffic on the channel lately. So if anyone is new, if anyone's just finding this channel for the first time, please hit subscribe. We're trying to get to 20K by opening day. Hopefully, this lockout ends rather soon so we can get back to talking some free agents and some trades and all of that jazz. Everyone, please hit that like button. What do all the YouTubers like to say? Smash that like button, please. That's really going to help this get out there, especially for a live show during a downtime. Hitting the like button will only help. Hit the notification bell. Share the channel. Share any of the videos that maybe you have liked. Maybe share them with grandma if you feel like grandma would like one of the videos. I'm okay with that. But all right, everyone, let's get to it here. We're going to start off with the lockout news. We're all cold. We're all lonely. I say that all the time. But it's true. I'm sad. You're sad. We're all sad. We want this lockout to end. We need this lockout to end. And it's just... it's getting a little tough. I'm not going to lie. But you know what? I've actually, in a way, I can find the positive in it. For me, creating some content lately, I've been reacting to some Jim Bowden trades on The Athletic. If you haven't seen those, please go check them out. It's rather entertaining if you ask me. I'm sorry, Jim Bowden. We got to work on your trades, my friend. We got to work on it. I've also dove back into the past a little bit during this lockout. Go check out some of the lists that I've come up with. The worst free agent contracts of all time, the best free agent signings of all time. I made a top 10 list on the amateur international signings of all time. Hey, go check that out. I talked about the Montreal Expos not too long ago. I made a short video using Out of the Park Baseball 22. So I will say, hey, I'm finding the positives. I'm doing what I can here on this channel despite the lockout. But hey, let's get to some news for once, shall we? So let's talk about the first thing. Major League Baseball Players Association looks like they are preparing a counter offer. It has been dead. The last thing that we heard about was Major League Baseball submitting an offer to the Players Association, and it didn't seem like they were all that happy with it. So Let's dive in here. Let me get some music on for all of you. Let's get the vibes. Let's get the mood set. Here we go. Where in the world is my music? Here we go. Oh, wow, that is loud. Alrighty, so let's get to it here. Alrighty, sharing the screen. Alrighty, so the Mlbpa preparing response to the MLB's latest CBA proposal. So, according to the report, actually John Heyman was on it today. The Players Union is preparing a response to MLB's recent proposal to be delivered within days. Everyone, we have hope. We have some news coming. MLB made an offer to curtail service time manipulation and tanking and pay players with 2+ years of service time more. Players were disappointed. The biggest issues weren't addressed. So I want everyone to know, like, that is why the Players Association, they were not happy. It doesn't necessarily mean they didn't like what was offered, but they want the big things addressed. Let's actually get to those things real quick. So this is kind of what's going on right now between these two teams. So as of right now, this is kind of what the Players Association is wanting. They're wanting the big one. This is the big one here for the Mlbpa. They want less time for the players to get to free agency. As of right now, it's around 6 years. They want it lessened. They want less time to get to free agency. They want to get to free agency at a younger age. They want to make that money. They want to make that moolah any way they can and sooner. They want bonuses for younger player achievements. So these guys, you know, who are in their first year, second year, third year even, they want more money for those kind of guys who maybe haven't gotten a big contract yet. So if they win an award or if they get voted to the All-Star game, they want those guys to be compensated more. They want a draft lottery that's going to focus more on market size. And if they were to increase the postseason, they want a 12-team postseason and nothing more. As of right now, this is what we know about Major League Baseball's offer. The last offer made, they proposed raising the minimum salary. They proposed offering more money for Super 2 players, so players that have 2 years of service time. They're also talking about reworking the arbitration system to where based off of a formula, which the formula that they were proposing leans more towards the Fangraphs formula for evaluating a player, basically F-WAR. They're talking about, or they were proposing draft pick bonuses for not manipulating service time. That's a big thing. The players don't like the whole manipulating service time thing. So if teams can hold off on manipulating that time, they will get rewarded with draft picks. There's also more here. They proposed a draft lottery for the top 3 picks. They do want an international player draft. To be honest with you, I would not mind that. I'm not sure. I haven't really thought of maybe the negatives that can go into that. But to me, I just love me a good draft. And there are some good-looking players that are on the international scene. And to me, if I got to see a draft for international players, I'd be all about it. But again, I haven't really thought too heavily into it to think of what the negatives could be. They want a 14-team postseason. They want more teams in the postseason. Why? Because more money. And they are okay with proposing the universal DH. I know some people out there don't want the universal DH, but you know what? I'm spoiled. I had David Ortiz for my entire life, basically, as a baseball fan, and I'm all about the designated hitter. That's just me. So let's get back to it here. So for me, you know, I'm wondering, to me, I'm guessing the players here, they're going to just get right to the point. They want to talk free agency. They want to talk the money for the players. That's the big thing with the players, and I think they're going to go right after the Major League Baseball owners with that. I think that's what they're going to lead with, talking about free agency. That's the big thing. They want less years to get to free agency. I'm sure we're going to see, you know, some of these other things that were talked about as well. You know, the arbitration system. Obviously, they're going to come at the owners with offers that will give the players more money. That's the big thing here. That's what both sides want. They want more money. But the players, who knows how long this is going to go? I don't know. I was kind of hopeful in the beginning. I was more on the, glass half full kind of on that side of the spectrum. But I don't know. The more this goes on, the less talking. Hopefully this can kind of get things going. Maybe a couple offers per week. That to me would be healthy. I think that would be healthy at this point. I don't know where we're going to end up landing. Are we going to miss, a whole ton of spring training? Are we going to have some kind of a shortened spring training? Are we going to be missing games? At this point, I wonder if we will miss games. I don't know. I don't know if we're going to miss games or not. I think it's possible. Maybe you could end up missing 10 to 20 games somewhere in there. Maybe have like a 140 game season, something like that. I would imagine you're not going to miss a lot of games. That to me, they don't want that. That's not what they want. You don't want to be losing season. You don't want to be losing games. Why? Because you're losing money at that point. So I think eventually they're gonna meet in the middle. I would hopefully, the bright side of me, I would hope they get this done. I don't know, no later than the end of February, I would hope. That gives them another, month and a couple of weeks. So hopefully they can get something done by that point, but I don't know. Hopefully this offer from the players comes out rather soon. Hopefully it's even tomorrow. Hopefully definitely before the weekend. I think that's the goal. Get this out there before the weekend. And then Major League Baseball, we'll probably see something next week from them. So again, I think the players, they're going to come back. They're going to obviously come back at the owners, say, hey, you didn't offer anything about the whole free agency thing. This is what we want. So we're going to I think we're going to hear more about that coming up. So, strap yourselves in, everyone. Strap yourselves in. So, let's get to our next story. Let's talk a little Carlos Correa, shall we? Hey, we are in the lockout, but we have some news on a free agent. Rather interesting here. Taking a look here at Mr. Carlos Correa. He has switched to Scott Boras. I'm going to be honest. I kind of forgot he didn't have someone like Scott Boras as an agent. He had a really interesting agency representing him. To me, for some reason, I was thinking Scott Boras was just his agent because every time I think of big money contracts, I'm thinking of Scott Boras. And supposedly before the lockout, he was looking for around $330 million. Holy cow. Are you kidding me? Holy moly. Good grief. Let's get the article pulled up. All right, so he has switched agencies. He's going to have Scott Boras representing him. This is, again, getting back to the organization that was representing him. Back in September of 2019, Correa took the unusual step of hiring WME to represent him, despite the fact that they were more of a show business agency and did not have long-standing MLB agents at that time. Back in September 2021, it was reported that the company was still trying to expand its baseball operations. They did have guys within baseball. They had general manager Billy Epler, and then they had also, along with some agents who had previously been with XL Sports Management. So not a big baseball following there. To me, getting Carlos Correa, that's the big first step. But obviously, it was kind of surprising to me that Carlos Correa didn't sign anywhere. He was wanting big money. So it sounds like, this organization that was representing him, they didn't do very good because he's still on the market. And could that end up affecting Carlos Correa, where, a lot of the teams right now, they're sitting on their hands. They're getting more thinking time. It was reported that the Cubs, they were willing to give some more money, but they want less years. So Carlos Correa at this point, I wonder if that's going to end up hurting him, and he has to take maybe a short-term deal and get back out to free agency maybe in the next year or two. I don't know if he's going to have to end up taking that step. He wanted $330 million. I don't know. That seems rather ambitious for a guy that has a history of injuries. As of right now, if we take a look, Fangraphs on their projections, they were looking at a contract of around 8 years, $240 million. That is way off from what Correa was looking for. Correa wants to be one of the highest paid players in the game, and that would definitely make him one of the highest paid players in the game. But is he going to get the 10-year contract that he wants? Is he going to get, the $300+ million that he wants? I don't know. It's going to be interesting. To me, when I was looking at Carlos Correa's values over the years, if we go take a look here, let me pull up Carlos Correa. On Fangraphs, they have a great tool. It's the value tool. What just happened here? What did I just do? What did my potato brain just do? We got 73 people in the chat. Everyone, welcome. I haven't been live for a few days, and we finally found a way. We found some news to sink our teeth into. So if we take a look at the values here, over his career so far, he's been worth $200.7 million. If we take a look at how many years he's played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 200 divided by 7. So that's around $28.5 million per year. To me, I'm thinking, because of the market, shortstop, it's a premium position. To me, I'm thinking, he's averaging $28.5 million per year. I'm thinking, that maybe goes up to $30 million per year, maybe even as high as 32. I don't think he's going to get the 330. I don't think that happens. That, to me, I think that organization was probably being rather ambitious, and teams were probably thinking, 330 million. Okay. See you later. We're not going that route. So that is why Carlos Correa did not get signed, because the guy was just asking for, like, how many Brinks trucks? He was at, how many Brinks trucks is that? 330 million. I don't know. Can someone tell me in the chat how much is a Brink truck? How much can they hold? That's a lot of money. So that's why he's still on the market, because he's asking for a ton of money that no team is going to give him. I'm sorry, but even though he has been rather healthy in the last couple of years, he still has those problems. There is rumors out there or news out there or whatever that he's had some low back issues in the past, and it's been kind of a nagging thing for him. So teams know about that. And then there was the whole thing about how Carlos Correa, they weren't going to, teams could only submit an offer if they could see the medical reports, or if they had submitted an offer, that was the only way they would see the reports of his medical history. So we saw the Tigers, they offered 10 at 275. And that's, according to what he wanted here, that's not going to get it done. So with Carlos Correa, I think Boras I don't know why he didn't have Scott Boras in the first place. Why are you hiring a company that deals with show business, that deals with Broadway, actors and actresses and dancers or whoever the heck else? Why the heck are you with this company that has really no experience with players at all? I don't know. To me, if you're one of these big players on the market, I don't know why the heck you weren't with Scott Boras from the beginning. I have no idea. I think he's going to go to Scott Boras. Boras is going to work his magic. I think he ends up getting a contract. 300, I think 320. I think I could see it going as high as that. That to me is even a little high. I wouldn't be comfortable with that. If he ends up getting a 10-year deal, I think it ends up being somewhere from 300 to 320. That's just what I think. He's been worth $28.5 million per year. Look at obviously the position of shortstop. Look at how he did last year. That's going to inflate it a little bit. So that's what I'm thinking. I think he ends up getting, I'll go 310. I'll go 310 million. How about that? Does that sound all right? Maybe 31 million per year. But I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being, maybe even 290 to 300. I could see something like that as well. So maybe, they could finagle a contract where maybe it could be 290, but you have some incentives in there. Maybe later on in the contract, if you're, still performing at a high level, you could, get more money on that contract, or maybe they have some options. I could see something like that. If you want to end up getting, 330 million, I think you're going to have to get creative with the contract. But then again, I don't know if teams would want to do that, and later on in players, in their careers, they tend to not be very effective players. So we'll have to wait and see. But Scott Boras, if there's anyone that can work his magic and get Correa the money that he wants, or at least close to the money that he wants, Scott Boras is the guy. Scott Boras is the guy. Alrighty, so let's take a look here at our next story. We're done with the current stories at the moment. Let's talk a little Hall of Fame, shall we? And one of my favorite players of all time, yes, my giraffe neck Robbie is coming out a little bit, but David Ortiz is on the ballot this year, and I'm rather excited about David Ortiz maybe getting into the Hall of Fame. And according to the trackers at the moment, it's looking like David Ortiz might actually get in. It's looking like he might actually get in. And I'm going to give some credit here to a certain Twitter account. Oh no, where did it go? Hold on one second. I gotta find this Twitter account. Hold on one second, everyone. Oh man, hold on one second, everyone. I'm trying to pull it up here. Where did it go? Oh, here we go. Alrighty, so there is an account here where he's been tracking all of the Hall of Fame stuff. He's been doing a really solid job taking a look here. So I think I'm pronouncing this right. Ryan Thibodeau. I think it's Ryan Thibodeau. But he's been doing a great job at keeping track of all of the Hall of Fame stuff. And if we actually take a look here, there is actually something that he posted here. So taking a look at David Ortiz. Right now, he is at 83.5%. You need 75% to get into the Hall of Fame. If you take a look, Pudge Rodriguez in 2017, at this point, he had 80%. So David Ortiz, and then Pudge ended up getting in. David Ortiz, at this point in time, has an 83.5%. So the odds are looking good in his favor. Jeff Bagwell had a 77.4%. He ended up not making it in 2016. So he ended up falling down to 71.6. So as more votes come in, these percentages usually will drop. So I think David Ortiz, it's going to drop. But at this point, I mean, I don't know. I'm wondering, do maybe some of these writers end up having a bit of a, maybe they have like a bit of a change of heart. But let's actually go over here, taking a look. His Twitter handle is @NotMrTibbs. So if you don't know of this, go follow him because he's been doing a phenomenal job at keeping track of everything. So as of right now, the three players that are, at least as of right now, if Hall of Fame voting was done as of right now, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and David Ortiz would get into the Hall of Fame. Whew, it's going to be really close with Barry Bonds. It's going to be really close, man. I mean, they're on their last, this is their last chance. I don't know. Here's the thing with the Hall of Fame voting. I personally think it's kind of a joke. I think it's a popularity contest. It's, first off, I don't think these baseball writers should be voting for the players. I mean, I don't think a lot of these baseball writers even played a lick of baseball growing up. They just sit there and write about it, and that's it. So to me, I don't know why these writers are voting for Hall of Fame players. I don't know. I have no idea. To me, I think people that are in the Hall of Fame, players that are in the Hall of Fame, and heck, even current players, I don't know. I think they should be the ones voting. I don't think it should be the writers where, some of them can be incredibly biased. I mean, to me, I don't know why that system is still in place. To me, if you want to put some of these players into baseball heaven, well, have the guys that are involved with the day-to-day stuff, playing games, going through the grind, playing the game of baseball. They should be the ones voting for these guys to get in the Hall of Fame. Sure, you could always still have a little bias then, but I guarantee it would be less biased than these baseball writers out there. And some of them are just completely just garbage. I'm sorry. I can't stand mainstream media. I'm not a fan of mainstream media. There's a lot of guys out there. I'm not going to name any names, but some of them just drive me absolutely insane. I don't know. So to me, I think the players should be the ones voting. That's just my personal opinion. Now, Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, again, when we took a look, Pudge was right around this. Let me actually go back to that. Right back to that. So Pudge, he was at 80%, but if you're taking a look at Jeff Bagwell, he was at 77.4% at this point. And if you're going back here and taking a look, Barry Bonds, 77.3%, practically the same as Jeff Bagwell. Roger Clemens, even a smidge lower, 76.2%. I don't know if they end up making it. Here's the thing with David Ortiz, and this is where, I'm not going to be biased here. David Ortiz, at the end of the day, as much as I love him, his name popped up on a report with the New York Times where he tested positive for a test. Rob Manfred ended up coming out, backing him up, saying, hey, that could be a false positive. You don't know. It really did get swept under the rug. At the time, it really kind of started to become a bigger story, but then it kind of just died. And it just never got talked about again. It really got swept under the rug. Here's the thing. I'm okay with David Ortiz getting into the Hall of Fame. However, you don't know if David Ortiz tested positive. I understand that. But to me, well, you got to think here. Barry Bonds, at the end of the day, he never admitted to knowingly taking steroids. Roger Clemens never admitted to knowingly taking steroids. David Ortiz is, at the end of the day, is in the same boat. You could have your opinion, but at the end of the day, all three of these guys share the same thing. They never it never got proved. It was never proven that they knowingly took PEDs. So to me, if David Ortiz is getting into the Hall of Fame, I'm sorry, the best hitter of all time, Barry Bonds, and Roger Clemens, one of the best pitchers of all time, should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry. And that's what I did on my Hall of Fame ballot. If you haven't seen my Hall of Fame ballot, go and see it. To me, I think we're at this point now. This is my own personal opinion. You can agree, you can disagree, whatever. It's fine. But with Hall of Fame voting, these guys, Barry Bonds taking PEDs. I'm sorry. All of those guys were taking, not all of them. I'm sorry. I'm not going to go that far. A lot of them were taking some stuff. A lot of them were sipping on the Kool-Aid. I'm going to tell you that right now. Trust me. I'm sorry. But to me, it was a certain era. A lot of guys, they were really getting into, using what could they take to get to the next level. Guarantee you, so many of them were taking just everything. Now, Barry Bonds, he just looked ridiculous. The guy, I do powerlifting. I train for powerlifting. And I'm not tooting my horn, but I have lifted some bigger weights in my life. Barry Bonds will always be 5 times my size. He is just absolutely insane. That guy, he was definitely taking stuff. He was absolutely taking stuff. I think everyone would agree with that. And even Roger Clemens too. That dude had some thunder thighs. Go take a look at Roger Clemens back in the day. This dude, his thighs were just thicker than about 8 bowls of oatmeal. I'm sorry. A lot of these guys were taking stuff. And I think it's silly to think, and I think these were just the guys that got caught. Even going back to the whole Astros thing. I know a lot of people love to hate on the Astros. I'm sorry. A lot of teams were doing that kind of stuff. Maybe not to the extent of the Astros, how they were doing it, but a lot of teams were using technology to try and get by. A lot of teams were, maybe checking out a camera here and there. Come on. It's the same thing with the PEDs. They were doing the same thing. You can agree with me. You can disagree with me. Those are my own personal opinions. To me, if David Ortiz gets into the Hall of Fame, I think Barry Bonds, the greatest hitter of all time, steroids or not, and Roger Clemens, one of the greatest pitchers of all time, should be in the Hall of Fame. I don't think it should just be these 3. I personally think Andrew Jones should get in. I think Todd Helton definitely has an argument as well. To be honest, I think Billy Wagner, I think he would be a great pick for the Hall of Fame as well. To be honest, hey, you could even maybe make an argument for Sammy Sosa. You can make an argument for Sammy Sosa at the end of the day. 25%, that's just crazy. Gary Sheffield, that's another one. That's definitely another one. He should get in. I think, to me, I think of A-Rod, here's the thing. Baseball writers, it's all about whether or not they like you. That's what it is. If they like you, you're going to get in the Hall of Fame, and David Ortiz is a perfect example of that. Everyone loves David Ortiz. He's got a smile on his face 24/7. Do you remember when the whole shooting thing happened with him in the Dominican Republic? There was so much love pouring out for David Ortiz, and rightfully so. That was a horrible incident. But the baseball writers, they love David Ortiz, and that is why you're seeing 83.7% as of right now. I think Scott Rowland should get in. I think a lot of these guys should get in. I think a lot of these players should be in the Hall of Great. Guys like Tim Hudson, Torrey Hunter. I don't know. I'm not the biggest fan of Jeff Kent personally. I think he was good. I think he's Hall of Great. Me personally. If you disagree with me, that's okay. A lot of these guys are Hall of Great. Honestly, I think Bobby Abreu was a pretty underrated player. That's just my opinion. But to me, if David Ortiz gets in, Bonds should get in, Clemens should get in. You can make an argument for Sheffield. And then I also think guys like Andrew Jones, Todd Helton, Billy Wagner, I definitely think Scott Rowland. I think Scott Rowland's a good one too. Hopefully Scott Rowland. I think he's going to get in. He's at a 69.2%. He's on his 5th year. I think he's eventually going to get in. He's got So he's got another 5 more years. Scott Rowland will eventually get in. And Alex Rodriguez, I think it's, pretty intriguing. His first year on the ballot, he's at 41.3%. I was going to say this earlier. Everyone loves David Ortiz, but Alex Rodriguez, he is slowly starting, after all the steroids and everything, Alex Rodriguez was not a very well-liked player going back years. But he's on the media. He's obviously, he's covering a lot of stuff right now with ESPN. You saw him a lot during the postseason. he is repairing his image, and he is starting to get more likable as the years go on. I think Alex Rodriguez is eventually going to get into the Hall of Fame. And I also think it's just time, too. Time is a big thing where a lot of these guys, as the years go on, I think people are just going to slowly just start not to care as much about the steroid stuff. Because it's like, come on. I think you got to let it go at some point. It was a certain era. But that's another thing, too. Bonds, Clemens, yeah, they were definitely using stuff, but to me, a lot of other guys are using that stuff too, and they're competing alongside those guys. And sure, there were players that were not, and I definitely agree with that. But I'm not making it as an excuse. I'm just saying that there were a ton of guys using PEDs. So those are my final thoughts on that. David Ortiz, I would love if he got into the Hall of Fame. He's one of the best hitters of all time, easily the best designated hitter of all time, one of the best postseason hitters of all time. David Ortiz, in my opinion, should get into the Hall of Fame. That's just me. But let me know what you think down below in the comments. We got one more interesting story to talk about, and that's Greg Maddux, one of my favorite pitchers of all time. Definitely a guy. That's another guy. Probably didn't use any PEDs. He didn't rely on velocity. He didn't rely on, big, fast, nasty stuff. Greg Maddux, this guy was the scientist out there. This guy was just conducting all the experiments out there on the mound. He was amazing. I love Greg Maddux. Didn't have all the velocity, but the guy relied on location and he relied on movement. The guy was phenomenal. But there was an interesting story. He could have maybe been a New York Yankee back in 1992. Very interesting today, or if it was yesterday, I can't fully remember when he went on the podcast, but he went on the David Cohn podcast with John Boy. I think it's called Towing the Slab, and which is also really cool. Because in 1994, Greg Maddux won the Cy Young in the National League, and David Cohn won it in the American League. So I thought that was actually a really interesting conversation there. Two great pitchers just having a conversation. Go watch that. I think it's definitely a good listen. But Greg Maddux on the show. Let me pull this up here. But on the show, he said that he had every intention to sign with the Yankees in 1992, but says he never received a contract offer because one of the Yankee front office members had a heart attack. I don't know about that. Before I even get into the other stuff, that just sounds ridiculous if you ask me. I'm sorry. But if you have an organization like the New York Yankees, if you really wanted to make an offer to someone, and granted, if someone actually did have a heart attack that was, a main guy involved with those kind of things, to me, you're going to still find a way to make a contract offer, to a guy like Greg Maddux. If they wanted to make a contract offer, they definitely would have. To me, I don't see... This is what Greg Maddux said. I'm not saying Greg Maddux is a liar by any means, but I don't know. I think he was lied to. I think the Yankees, I think they lied. I think they lied to him because I'm sorry. Like, if you wanted Greg Maddux on your team, he was obviously one of the better pitchers at that time. You will find a way to make him a contract offer. And Michael Kay, he actually had some thoughts on this as well. So it says here, Talking Yanks, they tweeted out later, Greg Maddux told Towing the Slab he'd have been a Yankee, but someone in the front office had a heart attack. Michael Kay is calling BS on that story. So Michael Kay, basically, he's been, doing this gig for a long time. He was around at this time, with the Yankees. Michael Kay, he knows a thing or two about the Yankees. So to me, if you want Yankee coverage, go listen to Michael Kay. I go listen to Michael Kay. I think Michael Kay is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely. Go take a listen with Michael Kay. But he basically was saying he never heard this story. And because he had been involved, with media at this time with the Yankees, he never heard this story at all. So he basically is just calling BS on it because, again, he hadn't heard it. And he was also saying how people in the Yankee organization, that's just not how they did things. They crossed their T's, they dotted their I's. They were a very well-run organization at that point. So to me, again, like I said, if there was a contract offer to be made, and even if someone did have some health problems, you're going to find someone else to take care of it. You know, I'm sorry. If George Steinbrenner would have done it himself. So to me, there's no excuse. But I'm not saying Greg Maddux is lying, but I think that's just what he was told. I think the Yankees basically told him, hey, someone had a heart attack. We weren't able to, get the fine print. We weren't able to get that contract typed up, so that's what ended up happening. Here's what I think ended up happening. I think the Yankees, so Michael Kay went on to talk in this, and he said that the Yankees, they would have loved to have had Greg Maddux, but they wanted to see if Greg Maddux was all in. Because Greg Maddux, he went to visit Yankee Stadium. He walked around New York. They were kind of whining and dining him, but the Yankees felt like they never got a full all-in commitment from Greg Maddux. What the Yankees didn't want to have happen was they didn't want to be used as leverage. They didn't want to play that game. So they basically said, hey, they probably thought, Greg Maddux, all right, if you're not all in, well, we're not going to offer a contract. They probably just said, so, what are you thinking? What are you thinking here? You want to be a Yankee? What do you want to do? Greg Maddux probably said, well, I want to, talk to a couple other teams, see where I'm at. I want to hear what the Braves have to say. I want to hear what these other teams have to say too. I think when that happened with the Yankees, I think they just said, yeah, actually, no, we're never able to make a contract offer. Someone had a heart attack, yada, yada, yada. Because here was the other thing. The Yankees, a little later, because they ended up signing a picture where they ended up signing Jimmy Key to a 4-year contract worth $17 million. I believe Greg Maddux ended up getting, what was it? A 5-year, $28 million contract? I believe that's what it was. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I was right on the dot. 5 years, $28 million. So at the time, that's, pretty good money. That's one of the best pictures in the game. So, yeah, and the fact that they, a few days later, they ended up signing Jimmy Key, to a 4-year contract worth $17 million. Well, okay, well, what happened to the guy that had the heart attack? I thought the guy with the heart attack here, I thought you couldn't go after Greg Maddux because he had a heart attack. Well, why are you able to sign Jimmy Key? So to me, that's what I think ended up happening. Now we can just play some fantasy, here. Greg Maddux, if he was on that Yankee team, let's go to the 1993 Yankees. If you didn't see, I just did a video using Out of the Park Baseball 22. What if the 1994 season was not canceled? Well, in that season, it ended up saying, I don't want to spoil it for you. I don't want to spoil it, but the 1994 Yankees ended up being really good. So I'm not going to say any more. You're going to have to go watch the video to go see what ends up happening. But if Greg Maddux was on the 93 Yankees, if we go take a look here. So Jimmy Key, he ended up doing really good for the Yankees that year. Like I just mentioned, they signed him to a deal. He went 18-6 that year, 3.00 ERA over 34 starts, 3.51 FIP. He was a very effective pitcher for them. So could you imagine, though, with Greg Maddux in 1993, Greg Maddux, first year with the Braves, he went 20-10. He had a 2.36 ERA, a 2.85 FIP. I believe he won the Cy Young. Yeah, he won the Cy Young in 1993, first year with the Braves. Could you imagine if Greg Maddux was on the 93 Yankees? I mean, he basically would have been in place of Jimmy Key, but holy cow, they finished second in the AL East. So, to me, if Greg Maddux, maybe gives you, let's see, Greg Maddux, what was his wins above replacement in 93? It was a 5.8. Let's go to Jimmy Key. Jimmy Key, let's see. What was his WAR in 93? It was, he actually had a higher WAR that year. But 94. I don't think Greg Maddux would have really done much for the 93 Yankees, but holy cow, he would have done something for the 94 Yankees. I'll tell you that. Looking at Greg Maddux in 1994 in a shortened season. Well, I mean, the season ended up getting shortened anyway, but an 8.5 wins above replacement. The Yankees, that would have been, they would have definitely been, if you were to think if that season never got canceled and Greg Maddux ended up being your ace, holy cow, that 94 Yankee team would have been sensational. But then they would have had him for 1995 as well. So if Greg Maddux ended up going to the Yankees, I might have to do a video on this. Give me a thumbs up in the chat. Should I do Out of the Park Baseball 22 with Greg Maddux on the Yankees? Should I do it? I mean, come on. I think that would be really fun. If you put Greg Maddux on the 95 Yankees. Well, let me see. Actually, what did the Yankees end up doing in 95? They were good in 94. In 95, so they were second in the AL East. Well, in 95, where were they in the stand? They were second in the East. How many games back were they? Where were they at? Hold on. 1995. Actually, who were in the playoffs? Let's do here. Okay. So yeah, the Braves won. But if Greg Maddux went to the Yankees instead of the Braves, who knows if the Braves would have ended up winning it. So yeah, the Yankees did make the postseason. So the Yankees, oh, that's right, because they had that was the whole Mariners thing. I mean, that could have changed that. I mean, you could have ended that with Greg Maddux on the Yankees. You could have completely just ended that whole Mariners run. I mean, what a magical season that was. The Mariners ended up losing to Cleveland, and then Cleveland ended up losing to Atlanta. But then if you put the Yankees, if you have Greg Maddux on that team, probably the Yankees win that series. And, you know, a Cleveland juggernaut of an offense. I mean, if you have Greg Maddux there, give him a couple of starts in that series. I mean, that could be a different series as well. The Yankees could have ended up making the World Series. And then if Atlanta doesn't even have Greg Maddux, well, then maybe you're looking at a New York Yankees World Series in 1995. They won in 1996. So, I mean, good grief. Nahawan, he has been a member now for 2 months. Nahawan, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you. But good grief. Just imagine how good this Yankee team would have been with Greg Maddux. Would have been absolutely phenomenal. But everyone, that is all I have for tonight. I want to thank you for stopping by. It felt good to go live tonight. It's always good going live and seeing all the familiar faces, all the new faces in the chat. So, everyone, I've posted a lot of videos over the last week. I haven't gone live as much because, hey, we just haven't really had a lot of things to sink our teeth into. We had a little bit tonight to talk about, but we're just trying to get by this lockout as best as we can. So check out some videos if you haven't seen them. I just go crazy on Jim Bowden and some of his trade thoughts. Go check those out. Go check out what would happen if the 1994 season wasn't canceled. That was posted a few days ago. There's a lot of stuff. Go check it out. But that is all I have for tonight, everyone. I want to thank you for stopping by. Have a good rest of your night. Expect some more content this week, and I'll talk to you next time.